Chip, we're planning as well. So.
Yeah, good work. Good work. It's a beautiful place.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and thanks, I guess, to our special guest again, Higgsy. Thanks for joining us. What we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the future of sort of meeting rooms in general, of where we sort of see things sort of heading off, and then we're also going to cover off our newest announced product site, which also ties really into that as well. So, a bit of an agenda, I guess, of what we're going to be looking at. As we've done with a lot of these sessions now, we're going to talk about our COLLABOS 1.8 update, which actually hasn't been released yet. So it's a little bit of an insider preview, I guess, there, but it is going to be the next day or so. So we're going to cover off, otherwise we wouldn't have had anything to talk about in COLLABOS as far as updates. So we'll give you a little sneak peek. So then we're going to cover off some, the term, I guess, equitable meetings and how Logitech hardware facilitates that. Then we're going to hand over to Higgsy, and he's going to talk on, I guess, the future of Microsoft Teams rooms, and I guess we can sort of talk about how we come into play on there. Then we're going to cover off our site product, which is a more intelligent camera, and then we've got a couple of room design resources, just as a recap there, and how you sort of design your meeting room around sort of meeting room equity, and I guess the future of meeting rooms as well, and then just some Q&A to wrap things up there. So just to cover off again, some of our Teams certified devices and where they sort of tie into there for Teams rooms on Android. Again, we've got our tap scheduler, our bars, roommate, and tap IP. And what will be added into there is our site product as well once that's available. So in general, some stuff that's going to be coming out in COLLABOS 1.8. The big one there is our grid view for Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini, which will be probably the biggest new feature that's added in. We're going to cover off some of that in just a moment. We've also got some multi-certificate support, so we can upload up to 50 certificates to your COLLABOS device using local network access. And local network access is also fully qualified domain name now support. So again, is one of those nice little quality of life add-ins. So just to cover off, I guess, that grid view feature for Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini, so it allows to sort of fill in that empty space and reframe so we can get a better shot of the room, and we can have up to 4 grids in a composite tile available there. So that means all that processing is available just on the bar and sent out there. So we're not doing separate video streams just yet, but will be coming in the very near future. A bunch of bug fixes have come out, so not as interesting and exciting maybe as new features, but very, very important all the same are bug fixes. So there, I'm not going to go draw through all this too much there, but there's, as you can see there, we're always squashing a bunch of bugs there. Some of the stuff that I guess there is just related to Teams on Windows and Android that you can see at the top there, probably most relevant for the session today. COLLABOS 1.8 for Roommate, we're actually adding in app-based support as a digital signage player. So I guess further quality of life of not just using it as your endpoint, say something like your Teams rooms. If you did want to put this behind a display in a common area, you can actually use it as an app-based signage player now, which is a cool little add-on. A couple other bug fixes we can see there. One of the ones there is just, I guess, as a big note there, if you've got a Rally system, the mic pod mute button becoming unpredictable and muted during a meeting on Teams and Android, and a camera feed thumbnail showing a yellow tint at the start of a meeting. They're probably some of the main ones to look at. And tap IP, we fixed an issues where the Teams app randomly restarted itself, and then a brightness change from the Teams admin center was not reflected in tap IP display. Then just from there, some improvements from the latest Teams app version and things like that. Tap scheduler, again, just generally just app versions there, no new features or bug fixes as such in those. And that covers off our little quick update for COLLABOS 1.8 that, as I said, isn't available now, so don't go hunting for it just yet, but it is scheduled for some point this week. So with that, I'm going to cover off equitable meetings. So it's a term that gets used a lot there, and I guess we're going to sort of talk about what are equitable meetings and how Logitech and Microsoft are playing their part into that there. So essentially what equitable meetings means is that we want to remove those barriers that are away from the people that are remote in the meeting room, remote from the meeting room. So the people that are on the call in Teams, say, and how we can sort of better integrate so the experience for those people on the other end of the call, they aren't worse off than the people having that conversation within the room. So there's a few ways that we can do that, and the most obvious ones are really our conferencing devices like our Roommate, Rallybar Mini, and Rallybar, and how we can better use that technology to improve the experience of the people on the remote side of the call. One of the ways that we can do that is with our group view setting. So essentially what group view does is removes the dead space in the room or the unused space in the meeting room. So in the example here, say we've got a 10p meeting room, we've got 5 people in that space, we can actually just frame in to fit everyone in there. So then the image itself has a better view of everyone in the space. That is available for our Roommate, Rallybar, and Rallybar Mini. Obviously, with a Roommate, you do need to pair that with a Logitech device, be it our Meetup, Rally Camera, or Rally System, and that's often referred to, I guess, as right side one for those devices there. So, which means that those are available to us. Also available if you've got a device, a Windows-based Teams room as well. So it doesn't have to just be the Roommate, but from a Logitech hardware standpoint, we do support that on both. Next is our speaker view. So as the name suggests, it is in view of the active speaker. We achieve this by using the 2 cameras in our Rallybar and Rallybar Mini, and we do active voice tracking and triangulation on that there, which means that we've got this nice pip that you can see here that the main lens will actually shift from the active person speaking, and then it'll be able to dynamically reframe out if there are multiple people talking. But we also get this nice little picture-in-picture view of that second camera or that AI viewfinder, which gives us a nice little in-room shot of what's going on. So even though we've got a nice clear focus shot of the active speaker, we can still see sort of what's going on, that sort of conversations, other conversations that might be happening in the room or other people's reactions and things like that. So that is available for our Rallybar and Rallybar Mini. That is not available with Roommate. So that's the other thing to note there. Reason for that being is that if you've got a Rally camera or a Meetup, we've only got that 1 camera available to us, so we can't do that picture-in-picture view. Again, it doesn't really matter if you're using the Rallybar in appliance mode and Teams on Android, or if you're using it in USB mode with Teams on Windows. That processing is all done on the bar and sent out as a single image and available now. Third and finally is our grid view feature. So grid view is going to be in that COLLABOS 1.8 update that's coming out. And essentially what it does is it reframes the participants in the room and sort of resizes everyone. So think of that previous shot we had there where you can see in this example, we've got the gentleman in the back here. He's the furthest away from the camera, but what we can actually do there is resize everyone sort of to be a bit more on equal footing for a better viewing experience for people remotely on the call. So when we think about equitable meetings, what this experience we're actually getting is a lot closer to as you would have, say, with Steve, Higgsy and myself now, where we've got a camera directly in front of us, we're facing at the screen, we're talking there, and it's just doing a better job at sort of reframing and reorientating the camera's perspective. That is available very soon. So as mentioned before, it is going to be part of that COLLABOS update, and will just be a matter of updating devices, and then it will just be a view setting that you can change within Sync. And again, it will be available in Rallybar and Rallybar Mini. So just a little snapshot here to cover off, I guess. These are our 3 sort of viewpoints that we have available to us in what we consider right side 2 now. So we've got our group view, speaker view, and then grid view. So they're all just options available depending on your devices that you have. Obviously, if you are using just a Roommate or a Rally Cam or a Rally System or a Meetup, then you've only got the option available of your group view. You're not going to be able to enable a view that's not supported, essentially. So then we move out to, I guess, other experiences that we can add in, and I've got my bars haven't loaded there in the preview tile for some reason, but that's okay. Then we can also talk about how we can sort of integrate other devices into the room, such as our Scribe product or our whiteboard and content camera. So the intention for this here is really, again, for people on the remote side of the call to be able to experience what's going on in the meeting room and to be able to use the technology and position cameras in the ideal place to be able to capture the activity that's happening in the meeting room. Often if you think about meeting rooms, a lot of them have traditional whiteboards in them, and if you've got a Teams room set up and you've got a whiteboard in the room, there's going to be at some point where someone's going to get up in that meeting and use that whiteboard. If you don't have a content camera available like our scribe, then those people on the other end of the call, they're not at equal footing. And that's really where equitable meetings, that term comes into play, is getting equal footing for all participants there. As we can see here in this example, and we've covered off Scribe before, so I'm not going to delve into every single thing that's available with Scribe, but you can see here the in-room experience versus the remote experience. One of the other things as well, kind of a cool example here, you think about if you were in a really large meeting room and you had someone get up and use this whiteboard, and you are sharing that content within a Teams call, it's also relaying that on your front of room display. So even some people that might be in the room that don't have a good viewpoint of that whiteboard can actually see what's being written there. So it's not only for people on the remote side of the call, but it also improves the experience often for people that are in the room as well.
Yeah, it's really good thing that you highlighted there, Rob, is we actually had a large number of customers come through our One Denison office yesterday for the New World of Work event that we ran. And one of the things we showcased in one of the executive boardrooms was the Logitech Scribe and content camera capabilities. And that exact feature that you mentioned, the ability for you to, if you're sitting at the back of the room where the content camera was, you got a nice clear view of the whiteboard. But those sitting at the front of the room could comfortably look at the front of room display and see what's being written. If you're sitting on the same side as the wall with the whiteboard, it's easier for you to just look at the front of the room display than it is for you to see that. And what really was interesting was how many customers were going, oh, we've never seen this feature before, and it's still like new technology. And a lot of businesses still have these whiteboards in their offices. You know, executives like to have a whiteboard in their office, and when you showcase, you know, something like a content camera, which you can easily attach to the wall, and I love the purple little Logi button that you can just press to start that content camera. It's just such an easy way to be able to bring something that has been, you know, traditional for meeting rooms, whiteboarding, into your team's meetings, and having that unobstructed view. It's just a great way to really help customers when you show it to them, and just do a pilot of it or bring them into your office and showcase the capabilities. They're really wowed, and they're going, this actually has a use case for us. And yeah, it really, really resonates with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things, I often say it's like it solves a problem they didn't know they had.
Yeah, 100%.
And once they sort of go, oh my God, I've never thought about that before. It's this nice little add-on. I think the other thing to differentiate as well is that people go like, why would I use a Scribe or an interactive whiteboard, say like a Surface Hub in companion mode or something like that? And they're really two different use cases right there. There's nothing that's preventing you from doing both, right? You can have that two-way collaboration that you get from like an interactive panel, where you've got sort of that two-way whiteboarding. But this here is really about, you know, people ultimately have a preference sometimes for just quickly sketching something out on a traditional whiteboard. Education is another really big example there. So you think things like hybrid learning in lecture theatres and things like that. There are classrooms there where often you'll have distributed displays in really large spaces. It just means that there's no more sort of scribbling notes necessarily of what's going on, because a lecturer has got a little whiteboard at the front of the room that they're working on. We can actually sort of get recordings and captures of that post-event as well.
And I think it's good to note there that it's not just a content camera just for a Teams room, for example, that it is, you know, detected as a content camera for a Teams desktop application, and heck, even OneNote, you know, any of those applications that can take a camera feed in. So all that processing that you're actually getting here that Rob's talking about, and we'll talk about in a second, is all in camera and not actually done in compute. So it's all handed off to your application as that single video stream.
Yeah. So it's really cool in that it just presents itself as a USB camera. It is a certified content camera for Teams, which is a requirement for Teams rooms, obviously. So it really gives you the best of both worlds there. That, you know, I do a lot of my demos. I've got a Scribe just mounted on the wall to the side of me here, and it's just connected to my desktop PC, and it just presents itself as a camera. So if I'm using, you know, platforms, when I bring in and show that experience without having to run up necessarily a full Teams room for me to move, say, from my desk over to a system that I've got behind me or something like that, it means that I can just plug that into sort of the PC that I have on hand with me. So some of the cool features that, as Steve spoke about then, that we have actually built into the camera is we do have presenter removal, that sort of ghosting effect here. So that's probably one of the biggest features that where we see the benefit of there, where people in the room, their experience as well is because if they are standing in front of the camera, that ghosting or transparency feature that you get means that we can see the content regardless of whether people are continuing to draw on the whiteboard or whether they're sort of annotating and pointing out some things that they have drawn on there. We also have content enhancement, so that means that as we improve that readability of text, not all whiteboard markers are created equal. People have a tendency to leave the lids off them. The AI and the processing that's done in the Scribe will actually enhance that content further for improved readability. And then finally, wrapping up, we actually have sticky note detection, which again is a feature that's a nice little add-on from having that processing available on the Scribe directly. So, thinking people workshopping, any sort of printouts, things they want to stick on that board there, they can actually improve that experience for people remote. Cool. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up. I guess this sort of covers off a bit of a snapshot of the technology that we talk about when we talk about meeting room equity, of improving the experience of people remotely on the call. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Higgsy, and he's going to talk on some of the future of Microsoft Teams rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you, Rob, and thank you, Steve, for having me here. It's I love these things because I like to have just kind of like that casual chat with everyone and just highlight some of the cool things that we're doing and just to reiterate some of the points that we made at Ignite and just to keep things top of mind for everyone when they're talking with their customers and so forth about what we're expecting to see in the future, what's coming, and getting excited and getting ready for it. It's really when we're looking at hybrid work and meeting rooms particularly, it's such a cool tech. It's so cool technology to be able to influence the way that people actually operate and actually make processes so much easier just by giving them technology that can transform. It's one of the cool things that I really love about this business is the influence that we have and the amount of engineering that goes into it. Is absolutely just awesome, particularly when you've been doing video conferencing for so long. Yeah. And it's been so much just about being able to see the person at the far end and the near end, crystal clear audio and being able to get content on the screen. Now we're taking that to the next level by doing things like IntelliFrame, and I'll probably start off by talking about IntelliFrame. To begin with, or maybe even front row. I might start with. We'll see what we've got. Let me take control, and we'll jump right into it. So we'll start off by talking about front row, purely because as much as people say to me, oh, how does front row work with intelligent cameras? And I just want to reiterate a point about demystifying this: that front row is a video layout. So intelligent cameras is completely separate to what front row is. Many have seen the signature Microsoft Teams rooms, what used to be called enhanced meeting rooms, and seeing like these semicircular desks and different layouts of meeting spaces, and having these large format displays and this video layout being front and center with intelligent cameras. And so they assume that enhanced meetings rooms or signature Teams rooms is front row, or so there's a couple of things we just want to reiterate here is that front row, whenever we're talking about front row, it's not signature Team rooms, it's not intelligent cameras, it's a video layout that is accessible on Teams rooms on Windows devices at the moment. Meaning you can, if you're running, I think it's version 4.12 and above, of a Windows MTR, you can take advantage of this video layout called front row. And front row, again, is designed to make sure that everyone who's remote is being able to be seen inside the room. It's designed to make sure that chat is accessible on the front of room display, so you can see that parallel conversation, and also bring in loop components, initially with obviously raised hand features. So that when people raise their hand, you can see those questions being asked in the audience. But as well as also eventually we're going to be adding things like agenda and so forth. So front row is a video layout, and when you combine front row with a enhanced meeting room or signature Microsoft signature Teams room, that is obviously going to give you a meeting space that can take front row to the next level. And then you take it even further by adding an intelligent camera, such as the Logitech Rally Bar Right Side 2. And as you saw Rob there talk about, the ability for it to be able to frame the people inside the room. So now with intelligent cameras, you're then able to make sure that those who are inside the room can be seen to those who are remote. So again, think about it as front row, as a video layout, so that those who are remote can be seen by those inside the room. And intelligent cameras is a way for those inside the room can be seen by those who are remote. So
I think on that, sorry, I think the cool way that I've seen it described by Microsoft is the benefit of front row, regardless of whether you have an intelligent camera or not, is really to capture that meeting within a meeting, right? The chat,
100%.
the hand raising, the Q&A. It was actually one of those things that you're actually previously before front row, you're in a sort of a worse experience because there was this stuff going on that you weren't really aware of if you weren't in the Teams room, or if you didn't have your laptop open and you weren't joining the meeting as well within the space there. So it's really it's a really cool implementation, I think, and some of the latest updates of the layout changes there are sort of really extending that there of again, I guess part of meeting equity, right? Is it's not just about people remotely; it's about what's that experience that's going on for people in the room as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're so used to obviously when we're working from home, we can throw a question in the chat, and we've all got Teams on our desktop, and we can see the chat in parallel with the meeting that's taking place. When you're in a Teams room, you're not necessarily going to see that chat when you're in a different video layout. So having that chat on your front of room display, you can see it up on the screen, and you can see questions getting asked. Not necessarily everyone feels comfortable with coming off mute and posing your questions, particularly if there's a large audience as well. So it's easier to just throw your question in the chat, and the moderator or the person actually speaking can see those questions and respond to them live in live Q&A, for example. So it's a great way to build that inclusivity as well, for making sure that those who aren't necessarily want to come off mute, that they have a voice in the meeting as well. But going back to my point before about intelligent cameras, we announced at Ignite the capability for to dynamically frame the people in the room, and Rob spoke about the capabilities with Right Side, and that goes in parallel with the technology that we're doing on the back end with IntelliFrame. They're a better together story where with intelligent cameras with IntelliFrame, we can dynamically have these people being identified in the room that have gone through and enrolled their facial recognition through the Teams client. Similar to if you know about intelligent speakers, it's a similar concept, right? Whereby in your Teams client, you'll have the ability to, kind of like how you set up Face ID on your Apple device. You'll be able to open up your Teams client, go into your settings, and enroll your face so that when intelligent cameras identify you inside of a room, that you'll be able to, the camera can say, yep, yeah, you're under this conference room. This is Rob, this is Steve, this is Higgsy, and be able to identify you, rather than you going, is that who I think it is? Is that Steve at the back of the room there? These cameras are going to be able to identify you once you've enrolled your face inside of Active Directory through the Teams client. Again, stored in Azure, super encrypted. No one in the company can even extract that data out or anything like that. So not even IT admins, not even Microsoft can get access to that data. It's all super secure against your AD account.
I really like that. For people like me who are really bad with names, I really like in Teams that I can see everyone's name, and I'm definitely at a disadvantage if there's just a meeting room full of people. So.
Yeah, it's super common, right? Because you kind of go, yeah, the executive in the room, you want to follow that person when they're talking, but there's other people that you want to know who's talking as well, and so you want to be able to identify them, and this is realistically where I think that both intelligent cameras and the center of room intelligent cameras. I know that we're going to be talking about Logitech Sight in just a moment and the awesome capabilities it's going to bring with Rally Bar and so forth. Just how important it is going to be able to identify people inside the room. So being able to see them, a cropped version of their face, is going to be so important, whether they're looking across the table or looking at the center of room. So at the front of the room with the camera mounted. As long as we can see their face and they've had their face enrolled in Active Directory, you're going to be able to identify them using IntelliFrame. And we're going to take this one step further, right? So whilst today, IntelliFrame is going to be locally processed on intelligent cameras that have the ability to provide this feature. Where cameras don't have this feature, so for example, the Logitech Meetup and the Logitech Rally camera, and not the Rally Bar, the Rally Cam, we're going to be able to provide IntelliFrame capabilities with IntelliFrame Cloud, where we have cloud processing on the back end. Now, this is going to be a little bit different to the way that intelligent cameras work. Intelligent cameras is locally processed, giving you full 1080p experience, but IntelliFrame and the cloud processing is going to give you a lesser resolution, so it'll be 720p, but cloud processed video tiles. And later on, I think at the end of this month, it might be pushed out to January. I'm not too sure just yet. We're looking to obviously separate these video feeds into their own individual video stream as well. So whilst we've got, like what you're seeing on the video here, we've got people's faces. Currently, it's in a single composite view on a single video stream of this processing. We're looking to split that out into individual video streams based on the facial recognition identification and being able to give people their video tiles. So you actually see them in a much bigger view than just a small cropped view on a single video stream. So that's coming late December, early January, and we should be able to compile that with obviously future capabilities with Sight, which we'll get to in just a moment. But the last thing I want to quickly talk about, which is to do with Teams Premium. Now, not to be confused with the legacy licensing of Teams Rooms Premium. I know we're fantastic. Our marketing team is fantastic at naming products. We've got Teams Premium, which is a user-based product, user-based license. And I'm sure you've probably seen, you've scheduled millions of Teams meetings, but there's Teams webinars as well, also accessible in your calendar inside of your Teams client. So if you've ever scheduled a Teams webinar, it's different from live events. Webinars works a little bit differently. First of all, it's using a Teams meeting engine, not the live event engine. It gives you a registration page for your customers to be able to, register to and say them and obviously share their attendance. And you can share an agenda and brand it and put all sorts of things on there. But we're going to be taking that to the next level with webinars by introducing, first of all, a green room. So you can be able to meet before the meeting actually starts. And with this green room, you can set up the layout of the meeting. And if there's going to be corporate branding, there's all sorts of things. There's going to be a pre-join screen. So when you're sitting there in the lobby, you're going to have a background of the lobby that's going to be branded for your organization. And you're going to be able to customize the whole experience for your viewers, which is super cool. And you're also going to have, as you can see here, an email registration response as well, with a calendar invite, and there's also the analytics around registrations and so forth. Why is this relevant to Teams Rooms? Well, you're going to be able to make sure that you can join your Teams Rooms into these webinars, and the Teams Rooms have a richer experience with webinars than they do with live events. Live events, they're just a participant in the meeting, and but with webinars, Teams Rooms actually can have a bit more power. They have the ability to control the meeting as well, similar to like you would of just having a Teams room in a normal meeting. So it's really, really awesome, and this is coming very, very soon. Webinars are here at the moment, but this next iteration of webinars is coming very, very soon, and I think we're all going to really appreciate this. And so I encourage everyone to consider how they schedule their next call. Is it going to be a public broadcast? Are you going to do a live event? Maybe consider what a webinar might bring, and the flexibility that's going to be able to provide, and how easy it is to be able to produce these moving forward. So, but yeah.
Higgsy, you just spoke a lot then about some really awesome stuff. We just had a lot of people. This video is playing currently, has some audio playing over it as well, which I think you're competing with a lot of audio from your video as well. I think maybe if we just quickly go forward a slide. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not sure if people realize that you could actually mute. Okay, there we go. Okay, so everybody, we realized that you just probably had a lot of competing audio then between the video and Andrew. Pretty much just talking about the awesome features that the new webinar features that are coming for Microsoft Teams. And I know you just spoke for about a couple of minutes on that, Higgsy. Can you give us a 30-second recap on what you just said? Because I think it's really important. I was able to mute the audio for myself, and I heard you, and I'm really excited for what's coming.
Yeah, I'll just recap what we went through. That's totally fine. So, just long and short was basically with Teams rooms. Start off with Teams. Teams premium licenses, you'll have the ability to take your webinars to the next level. So this will be coming very, very soon, where you'll have not only just registration pages like you do today, but analytics and webinar email templates, and being able to do custom join screens and tailoring the whole experience for your audience for them to be able to participate in your webinars. So there's lots of cool things that you can do with webinars that are very different from live events. They're treated more like the way that typical meeting runs, and you can still have live Q&A. You can still do all those great things, but you'll get a green room as well, so you can so your presenters join the green room, and you set up the meeting experience, and then you can launch into the actual live webinar. Like I said, very different from live events, and you have a lot more power and flexibility around how you customize that experience for your audience. So definitely check it out. If you're not using webinars today, start having a play with it, and eventually moving forward with Teams premium licenses, you as an end user will be able to get full advantage of those features moving forward. Last thing I was going to wrap up with saying is Teams Rooms has an important play in here, because Teams Rooms, because of being like a Teams meeting, will have a lot more control over the meeting and audience participation and how it's actually run from a Teams Rooms device versus what happens in a live event where they don't have that same experience. A Teams Rooms, it will always just be able to say audience member inside of a live event versus the capabilities that you get with a webinar as well. So yeah, that was it.
Very cool. I think that it's just really cool to see the improvement. I guess the development of that there, and bringing all these cool features sort of in-house into one platform. I know that as Steve and I can attest, we run a few events, and you've got all the different tools that you use, and it's like the less you have to go to, the better. So it's really cool to see.
And I just add to that is that I love the idea that that feedback you get from people as well as webinars. So live events, we've done live events. You don't get that feedback from people who are participating, or you don't have that involvement with them. And just be able to have that ability to have people respond to you, when you're presenting, it changes everything. It makes it. I'm talking to a bunch of people, and I know they're there, and I'm interacting with them rather than I'm talking to a presentation. So I really love those features.
Nice.
Absolutely.
That's a good segue. We're talking about intelligent cameras. I think we should jump into the Logitech site and talking about its capabilities for Teams Rooms as well.
I'm hoping everybody's call has actually seen the announcement for Site. What was about 3 weeks ago, I think, Rob, that we announced.
Yeah, it was about that. Yep.
About that. Pretty exciting announcement, actually. So this awesome device that you're seeing on the table here, this is our new device that we call Site. It is an additional camera solution, which I'll talk about why in a minute, but to the Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini. It's just really important off the bat. I just want to talk about that it is not a standalone device. It does work with the Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini, and you're totally going to understand why in a moment. But it's here to solve a particular problem that I'm going to need to take control because there we go. I think that worked. Okay, and it's here to solve a particular problem that we've noticed. We've talked about right site. We've talked about right site 2. So, you know, our method of doing speaker tracking or group framing in right site 1, for example. And that is all well and good, except some of the problems here, particularly when we're talking about equitable and inclusive meetings, is that these people around this meeting room table here, it's actually quite hard to see some of these people or even understand who they are. Now, IntelliFrame and that AI being able to see who you are is going to be absolutely amazing at identifying all these people. But at the moment, when you've got a frame that looks like this, and there are people who are quite literally quite far away, it is still a bit hard to determine who they are. The other problem with this is this gentleman at the front has just leant forward, and I have no idea who that gentleman in the grey is now. So there's a problem. I don't quite understand who's in that meeting. I don't feel a part of that meeting. Inclusivity is basically gone out the window, and the whole equitable experience is not there anymore. So we've looked at a few approaches to be able to combat these problems. And one approach is we've had just a more intelligent camera. Rally bar or Rally bar Mini, we have speaker tracking as Rob presented to us. So this is right side 2. And this is going a long way to solving that problem already. It makes you feel like you're a bit of a participant in the meeting room. Obviously, we're getting a closer frame of the person who's speaking. We're able to see them a lot more clearly. But it doesn't really solve the problem. Right side 2, so that grid view, which is coming out in our awesome 1.8 release sometime this week, again, adds another dimension to fixing that problem. I'm seeing everybody's faces independently here. I'm feeling much more connected to these people throughout this meeting. This is one approach. So just to give another example, there's our room, and here's our independent framing here. However, this approach isn't necessarily the thing that's going to fix the problem, because as soon as these people start turning away from that front of room camera and engaging in conversation with each other in a room, as you would expect, we've lost that connection with those people here, and we're seeing the sides of people's faces. We've essentially lost eye contact, if you will. And you can particularly see here is that this gentleman at the back is still being covered by somebody as well. So now we're looking at possible solutions. And this is our idea of what we think is going to be create the most equitable and inclusive environment here. And it's that center of table, perspective for everybody. So we're able to see everybody from that center of the room. Ideally, that's getting their front off face, but you're not going to get that from that front of room camera. So like the rally bar. So that's where Logitech Sight comes in play as that additional device that works with the rally bar to present that center of room experience. And you can see in this video demonstration here exactly what I mean. And you can see here that we've got that picture-in-picture at the bottom, but what I'm getting here is I'm actually getting the front of view wherever this person is facing. So this gentleman just turned and faced the front of the room. The whole solution is clever enough to recognize that and then switches the camera to the best view for me. And again, here, she faces the front of the room and it automatically switches over. And this is obviously going to work really well with IntelliFrame and what Microsoft's bringing to the table here, no pun intended, where it's going to have, thanks for laughing, Higgsy, I needed someone to laugh, where it's going to be able to do that.
It's good,
AI
man, it's good.
Identificate, yeah. It's going to have that identification. It's going to be identify who that person is really clearly now. So that doesn't mean that right side 2 and those other right side features that we have go out the window. It's very specific to the kind of room, and I've got to clap. I'm hoping someone clapped me for my little pun, so I'll take it. Thank you. You can see here that in different kind of spaces, the different kind of views are going to apply. So in this smaller space on the left here, a grid view will be perfect because this is very much front facing. Very much a huddle space kind of room. That grid view is going to be the most appropriate view where everybody's face is generally going to be facing the front of the room. Then you have this larger room to the right, which would benefit from that multi-camera. So having that sight in that middle of the room, because those people are going to engage with each other across that table and also everybody who's on the call as well. So the idea is sight. It's getting the best perspective. Now, how is it doing that? It has dual 4K cameras. this is really, really important to know that these 4K cameras are not going to capture a full 360-degree field of view from the camera. It captures a 315 degree field of view, and you might be asking why. Well, we don't really want to be seeing people's faces that are on the display already. Now, it is doing a fair bit of facial detection here to know, I guess, who is looking toward the camera or who is looking toward the front of the room, and we don't want sight to be able to be picking up people on the call already. But that 315 degree field of view is going to give us that overall view of everybody at the table quite clearly.
I think sorry, Steve, if you just want to go back there, one other thing there that's that I can, one more slide there on that 315 degree view. The other thing to keep in mind there is there's always, when you've got multiple cameras working in conjunction with each other, there's stitching that needs to happen, right? And because we've got that, if you think of each of these cameras doing 180 degrees, we've actually got a nice position where our stitching is going to be overlapped here. So we're not going to get the middle of someone's face where you're going to get some wonky stitching. Software and AI does a good job, but it's never going to be perfect. And as someone moves around, you're definitely going to see that stitch or that seam line there. By doing this overlap here, it means that we're sort of hitting the corners of the table rather than just the head of the table. And as often you'll find is the person driving the meeting will often be sitting at that head of the table as well.
Exactly, and that's this spot here is that there's no exactly what you said, Rob. There's no stitching here where you've got a single line where someone's gonna have a bit of a wonky face, like right down the middle. It's able to then stitch between these two overlapped images of there, which is the same angle as that. Everyone who wants to do their Pythagoras theorem, and I'm not going to embarrass myself on his call.
It's interesting that you say that, and it's I think it's also a really important thing that you mentioned just before was that if it was 360 degrees, then the camera's going to be picking up the faces of the people on the screen as well, right? So it's going to be picking up, and there's also no one's going to be sitting in front of the camera at the front of the room as well. So whilst you're not going to have anyone sitting there, you also don't want to be picking up the faces that are going to be on the actual front of room display. So it makes perfect sense to have it 315 degrees, not 360. That's good.
Absolutely.
And obviously, if you had a standalone camera, then maybe a 360-degree camera would make some sense, but it just really doesn't serve much purpose in this.
Yeah, exactly.
I love walking into those boardrooms where you do actually see a chair here right in front of the display, and every time that chair just ends up over there to the side of the room.
Yeah. It's your 10-person meeting room. It's never a 10-person meeting room.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Perfect. And so this is just demonstrating here that the cameras are intelligent enough to pick up on what is a front-facing, which camera are you facing for any given moment, and it's going to choose the appropriate camera for that. So if I'm facing here, I'm talking across the table towards this person here, for example, the site's going to detect that this is the most optimal view for me. However,
sorry, mate, I think that you're still on that mic pickup slide. Some of your annotations are still playing for me.
Yeah, we're still watching your animations of I'm drawing the chairs at the front of the room.
Oh, really? Oh, that was lovely, nice and slow. I see it hasn't caught up.
It's been there's a little bit of a delay on that one.
We're now seeing where that front of room chair has been moved to the side of the room. That will
there we go. I think we got it.
Good.
There we go. I'll avoid the annotations from now on.
I think so. I think it's we're still getting them coming through, but you can sit on this slide for a little while. So
okay, that actually happened to me at the TCA last week, I believe. So it's okay. And I'm hoping that the slide that you're seeing now is the gentleman facing the front of the room.
It is indeed.
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful. And the rally bar then, and the whole system as a whole is able to determine then that this gentleman is facing the front camera and then is able to pick the rally camera as the primary image.
Yeah, so that's the cool thing there that's a differentiator by using two cameras, right, is that we've got a tile that's been assigned to that person. With IntelliFrame, we can identify who that person is. But then as they switch their position, right, from cross conversation on the table to facing the front of the room, that it will change that for that best perspective while retaining that person's info.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just to give a bit of an overview of what this would look like in a what's this, a 11-person room. Obviously including, we've got a lovely old scribe there, but this 11-person room, that one site would be able to do that, and at some point in the future after it's released, we'll be able to support 2 sites, which are daisy chain for the larger room. And again, it's got that intelligence where it's going to pick the most optimal view for whichever way you're facing. Not only does it have cameras in it, though, is a lot of people who may be familiar with our products understand that we have the Rally mic pods, which work across the Rally range and the Rally bars as well. This is no exception. In fact, we've taken what the Rally mic pod is really well and then essentially put it into the top of the site as well. So it is effectively replacing one of your Rally mic pods too. So it's got 7 microphones on there, gives you up to 12 acoustic beams to capture your voice as well. And these microphones are omnidirectional. So they're not directional, they are omnidirectional, but they are forming or beam forming to ensure that the best audio is coming in from you and not other things in that room. Unlike the camera, the microphone is, like I said, omni, so it's going to have quite a large pickup range. So 2.5 meter, nearly 2.5 meter pickup range from the camera, from the site, sorry, I should say, which gives you quite a lot of coverage, particularly if you have those rooms that you have 2 sites. You have got quite a lot of coverage in here, and particularly when this is now working in with the 6 beamforming mics on the Rally bar, you have got pretty much the entire room is covered for beamforming microphones.
That's fantastic.
There are indicator lights. Now, don't undervalue what indicator lights are. They will tell you when you're muted and when you're unmuted, and we've all been there. I'm not going to bring up the joke, but just to know that you are actually muted is really helpful feedback from your solution as well. And we do have 2 mic mute buttons either side of the site here as well.
I think that's also just bringing into play that it is a full replacement for a mic pod, all the functionality you would get, and then some, obviously, right? So you've got your microphone on top, your indicator light, and then your mute button. So it'd be a full, complete replacement for a mic pod.
Absolutely. Installation couldn't be simpler as well. So for an install with a Rally bar or Rally bar Mini, it is a single Cat6 cable run back to the Rally bar for data, and there is a second requirement for PoE Plus there. Now, this can be powered off a network switch, so if you have a port underneath the table or in a table that has PoE Plus available to it, you can power it there. Otherwise, you can use a PoE Plus injector as well. To power that up. Now, I think it's really important to say that it's not a network device. So if you are plugging it in to receive power from your network switch, it's not on your network. It's not a network device. It's not pulling an IP address. All it's using is power. So just some consideration there if you have some policies on your switch about devices connecting to a switch port. If something may be blocked because of whatever reason your policy is, just to ensure that that port possibly doesn't have any access to your LAN or WAN, and then but does have PoE Plus enabled on that switch port.
So you're saying that it doesn't have DC power. For it to get power, you use an injector or plug it into the network that has PoE Plus.
Precisely.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. So not another requirement for another wall wart sitting in the floor.
Beautiful.
In the floor box. Yep.
Yeah.
And what's great as well is our PoE injectors as well. So we have a couple of different adapters for our PoE injectors. One that can just sit straight into the general power outlet, but there is a figure 8 connector as well. So if it's better to, I guess, mount the injector or the power supply under a table somewhere inconspicuous out of the way, you can do that if you have the figure 8 cable with that as well.
Nice.
Few options for mounting it on the table, actually, and we have this really cool feature that we do use for site, and we use it for what's the other product we use? I can't actually remember off the top of my head right now, but we actually have this mounting plate here that is non-permanent, doesn't damage the surface of your table for those tables who you don't want a hole through. It actually uses a micro suction cup technology. Absolutely mind-boggling how it works for me. It feels like it's a strong 3M tape, but it's non-adhesive. So it is a micro suction cup. It sticks to your smooth surface. It can be reused time and time again. Essentially, it's absolutely brilliant. And you can see under there that we do focus on our cable routing quite extensively. Again, much like we do with our Rally bar and Rally bar Mini, we do put a bit of effort into that.
Is the microphone pods that use the same thing?
It's not the microphone pods. It is.
I think it's the back of our webcam mount. So the new webcams are using those microsuction plates that I know of, Steve. So
yeah, cool.
But if no one's ever used it before, like to your point, Steve, it it will stick, and you would be able to physically sort of it would feel like an adhesive. It does take a little bit of effort to pry it off, but it does mean that you can sort of reposition it if you had to move it there.
Nice.
With that cable management as well, as you can see here in this example, we've got routing out at either side. On the left is actually for if you had things like a daisy chain mic pod off of the site, or in future, as we spoke about before, that second site would daisy chain off there. That's where your cable routing would go through.
That's very cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. I might be wrong in this. Do we use the micro suction cups on the tap mount as well for the table mount?
Possibly. Actually, yes, you're right. Yeah, is. Yeah, that is. Yeah. Now I think about it, you are correct. It is on the table mounts for the tap.
Nice.
I thought so.
Yeah.
But if you do feel like putting a hole in your table, which a lot of our products have a mount that has a grommet that goes through. It is the same diameter grommet as our tap table mount. No, not a tap table mount. Sorry, our rally mic pod mount, which I think is like 25 mil, something like that.
Yep.
And then the site can then comfortably click on top of that, and then the cables run through to the table. If you want to set up the site in a more telepresence style space, that is completely possible as well. We do have a tripod mount for that. So if you've got those old telepresence style rooms, or a U-shaped or a V-shaped table, for example, and this is going to work absolutely brilliantly with front row, and also all the IntelliFraming as well from Microsoft. This is able to be done here as well.
Neat. That's very cool.
So that's tight. That's our solution to that inclusion and equity problem that we're seeing in today's meetings, particularly around the hybrid meetings where we've got people working everywhere, but we want everyone to be included in the experience and feel included in, I guess, with their team when they're having their meetings. But I do just want to quickly touch on room design as we get on there and just kind of highlight some resources that are available publicly for everybody. One is from Logitech ourselves. Please make a note of this URL or scan that QR code that Rob has put in there for us. It'll take us to this room configurator. So this configurator will actually walk you through the entire process. And then at the end of it, will give you a list of your required bits and pieces, almost like a bill of materials, really. So you can do your design of your room, what you need, and get a really good estimation of what you're looking at as a requirement. On the other side of that, Microsoft have a fantastic set of resources as well. So again, please scan this QR code and check it out, and have a look what they have over there as well.
Yeah, we've got a series of meeting rooms that are kind of like cookie cutter approach to what we would almost templatize for a meeting space, and it covers everything from different device vendors and everything like that. But you'll see the Logitech range of devices that are on there, and how they slot into different shapes and sizes of meeting rooms. Everything from small rooms, huddle spaces, all the way up to the large scale rooms as well. And whilst it doesn't give you the same granularity as what the room configurator does on the Logitech side, they do complement each other. So definitely have a look at it. And check out those meeting room archetypes, is what we refer to them as. And start having a feel as to what that looks like. But yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, they're both really handy resources in their own right, and it's really about the right solution for the room type, right? I've definitely seen many very, very large rooms with meetups installed in them that probably shouldn't have a meetup in them right there. And then it just means that you're going to have a poor audio and video experience, say. So if you've got a really large room, you put a meetup in, it's only got digital Zoom, it's got some quite simple mics and not a really high output speaker. Great for a huddle space like where Higgsy is at the moment, right? Where you're going to be in this sort of smaller meeting room, but for a room like in this example here is where you'd be looking at something like a Rally Bar, maybe with some expansion mics, or a Rally Plus as shown in the example. Yeah,
so the archetypes are built on what we've seen as the most commonly asked or commonly deployed globally across all meeting rooms. So they're not just what Microsoft think is the best solution in that meeting space. It's what the average room deployment is at a global scale across multiple partners and OEM vendors that we've surveyed, and customers that have shared their schematics with us. And so don't look at this and go, why are Microsoft saying, we have to have projectors? That's not what we're saying at all. These are just meeting room guidance. Personally, I probably wouldn't deploy a projector in a meeting space. I would probably leverage I think Combox here in Australia, they've got a great solution for 21 by 9 front of room displays, which are just absolutely fantastic.
Really cool.
I think Jupiter have also got a 21 by 9 format display and that leverage it showcases front row amazingly well. But of course, there's also the usual front of room display vendors that play in the space and dual room displays, etc. So panels are always going to give you a much better brightness and contrast and everything like that, and the better blacks with OLED displays and so forth. So yeah, again, I'm not saying that the archetypes aren't there to say you should deploy projectors. It's an option, but obviously lead with what your professional guidance is. You as an organization should be definitely putting forward what you think is the best solution for the customer. Not saying Microsoft said put projectors in because that's what their photo had. So
I think that's just a reference more than anything as a baseline, right? Every room is slightly different, but these sort of get you into the ballpark. I think there of making sure that you're going to get it pretty close as a starting point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with displays, commercial displays, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Big advantages over commercial displays over domestic displays. Just yes.
Yeah.
We'll throw that one out there while I got the airtime for that.
I see all the AV integrators going, yeah, of course.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, that pretty much wraps us up. We do have a little bit of we have a minute, maybe even 30 seconds for Q&A, but I haven't actually seen any questions come in, which is I don't know, does that mean we've done a good job or does that mean we've done a bad job? I don't know.
I'm going to go with yes. We've done a great job. So
smash it out of the park.
Yeah.
But in that case, if there's no questions coming in, we are bang on the hour, and we just want to say thank you very much to everybody who has joined us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us the time to have a chat with you, and again allowing Andrew, Rob, and I to chew the fat for a bit as well, which is always fun for us, and we enjoy that. If you have any questions or anything that you need, feel free to check out our website. Microsoft have got amazing documentation. I always refer everybody to Microsoft's documentation because it is absolutely perfect. And then we've got fantastic resources over at prosupport.logi.com as well. Look us up on LinkedIn and reach out. And thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.